Well, thanks for your company. Let's get into our first story. Yet another poll has shown that the polls were heard for a possible runoff. The IPOL survey on the policies, parties and choices showed no candidate would or could possibly garner 50+1% to win the elections by one touch, as being speculated by some other researchers. The findings this time show former President John Dramani Mahama will garner some 48.7%, whilst President Akufo-Addo will get 46.1%, with the other candidates getting 5.2%. Let's get some understanding to this from one of the researchers, Dr. Kobi Mensah. He joins us via phone. A very good morning to you, Dr. Kobi Mensah.
Good morning, Maravi. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. So previous polls had predicted an outright win for the MPP's Akufo-Addo, but this outcome is pretty different. Please explain.
All right, thank you for the question. Firstly, let me say that our polls do not actually predict. We don't actually predict, but we actually, sample a particular respondent. Because of the methodology that we use, we are not able to have a representative sample of the voter populations, and that's why we are not able to predict per se, but we say that for those that we have actually polled, that is the kind of division that we have. Now, what we use is what we call the IPO, is an electronic poll. It is actually deployed on 3 sources. So the first source we use is social media platforms. So, for example, we post the questions on Twitter, we post the questions on Facebook, for example. We deploy it also on our app, which is IPO on iOS and on Android machines. So when people download those apps and then we push the messages, they got onto the people's phones and they respond. We also use text blast. So we blast the questions onto people's phones. So those who do not actually have smartphones but have other text-based phones, they're able to respond. So given the methodology, the kind of engine that we use, clearly those who do not have these devices are not able to respond to the polls, and that's our limitation. And then, of course, also when it comes to regional distribution, in this particular poll, you see that the representation is not quite strong from other regions, but it's predominantly Greater Accra. And these are some of the limitations that we highlight as a result, saying that we're not actually predicting, but we are saying for those who actually answered the questions, these are the divisions in terms of their choices.
Great. But Dr. Kobi Mensah, the Greater Accra region is also a very important region. It's one of the swing regions. And if you look at the other surveys carried out, it's been strongly suggested that if you won the Greater Accra region, it will be very important for an ultimate win for whichever party. So this is still crucial even though you've got limitations.
Yeah, so I agree with you perfectly right. So we say that for those demographics, of course, across the country, they think, likewise, as those we have polled. So yes, despite the limitations, their views are crucial, because they tend to be opinion formers and they tend to actually reflect the national thinking of the kind of audience that we actually polled. And as you said, even in our own interrogation of the electoral data, not poll data, but electoral data, we realize that Greater Accra is one of the few regions that express, or that has actually that ability to predict who actually wins the election. If you look at the voter behavior of Greater Accra, Western region, and Central region, they tend to have a behavior pattern that actually suggests
Where is the thing you said about?
Go on.
No, Kobi Mensah.
Yeah. So we're saying that, yes, Greater Accra has that ability to actually predict, especially those who actually, the party that actually carries Greater Accra would influence the electoral results. So yeah, you're very right on that.
And this research of yours, which you say is the last one before the polls, actually is similar to another one, even though the methodologies are different, as the one that I'm referencing is based on statistical modeling using the EC's data from all previous elections. But let's talk about 89% of respondents in your exercise say they have decided on who to vote for, out of which 49% of them said they would vote for the NDC. What can, I don't know whether to say statistically change between now and December 7 in the Greater Accra region, the 40 and below the 600 persons who took part in your survey?
Yeah, I think that in most cases, getting into election 1 week straight, you would say that people are actually firm that in their decision making. Of course, unless there is a massive kind of event that could actually sway people's choices one way or the other. But even in electoral studies, we established that given 1 week to the election, it is most likely that people actually choose and might have actually made their positions clear. What is crucial, though, is that we should understand that most of these, especially those actually reflected in this poll, suggested independence, which means that they are not actually party faithfuls per se, or they are not actually glued to a particular ideological position. Some, even those who actually express, association or some kind of relationship with parties, they express independence in their thoughts, and that is crucial. So you realize that quite a lot of people are making decisions based on their own independent assessment, as opposed to based on the fact that they support party A or party B. So yes, quite a lot of people are grounded in their choices going into the elections by now.
There's also good news because from your exercise, the conclusion is that voters were very engaged with the process and able to identify the messages of the various parties, which is a good thing. Even though we've seen pockets of violence, does it largely mean that even with a week to the polls, we would still see issue-based conversations?
Yeah, you're right. I think that it's been amazing. The expectations that we had going into this election was that it will be a low turnout, and quite a lot of people may not be, actually following the campaigns or the political process. But it's turned out to be different. In fact, the last time we actually conducted the poll before this, there was a feeling that people may not actually, go to the polls. This is actually changing. And I think the crucial point is that because the campaign has been different, has been direct, because a lot of the campaign messages are pushed onto people's, phones through the social media, etc. Of course, for those who are actually within the environment that do not have access to this infrastructure, the politicians have been going straight to them. So the campaign has been very, very personal and very, very direct. And as a result, it's influencing people's interest. Now, the idea that people could identify individual political parties' messages and allocate them rightly, correctly to the parties that are actually sponsoring or pushing that agenda. It is quite interesting because those days we used to say that people do not engage politics by issues, but now it is showing that people are really engaging by the issues. They are quite rightly able to identify political parties and the kind of policies that they are advancing, which is quite encouraging.
And what would you say to the percentages given to the specific issues? So, for instance, on infrastructure, health, economy, job creation, security. What can you say in terms of what the respondent said with regards to these issues?
Yeah, I mean, majority of the people are actually putting the NDC ahead of the NPP in terms of the various policy issues. For example, if we ask people which of these parties do you think has the best plan for economy, for example, for infrastructure, for health, for example. In all these measures, the NDC had come up tops, than the NPP. The only measure that people actually thought the NPP had better plans than NDC was education. And I think that it reflects on the political party's own campaign effort. I think that the NPP had been predominantly on education and have ceded the rest of the fields to the NDC. NDC had been quite innovative and quite instrumental in terms of their campaigning on these other issues, and so I think that is reflecting on in the kind of choices that the voters are actually making. It was also quite instrumental to find that quite a lot of people actually can remember the NDC's policies than the NPP. So when you look at in answering them, in answering which of these parties and policies do you remember, state two of them. quite a lot of people, a significant number of people, 70% couldn't actually allocate to NPP, but only 3% couldn't allocate to NDC, which means that there's a high recall of policy positions on the part of the NDC than the NPP. But I think that it's quite a reflection of how the campaign has actually panned out.
And IPOL agrees that their sample is not large enough to represent national view. But can we take what is playing out in this research with Greater Accra to represent any other place in Ghana?
Correct. I mean, we say that the demographics that we have actually polled, I mean, the people that we talked about, highly educated, very IT savvy, you can say, and then, of course, very urban. Now, these individuals that we have, I mean, these personas in research, we call them, as we have polled, quite reflect that of the other regions, indeed. So although for the geographical representation, you may not see quite strong showing of those other regions, for example, Central region or Eastern region, you would actually agree that the kind of person in Greater Accra and their views that they share are most likely to be reflected in those regions as well. So for us, we believe that although we cannot actually claim to predict, or we cannot actually claim to be generalizing the report, we think that the views are quite reflective of what others are actually looking at. And so if you take it as a guide, going to the last stretch of the elections, that could help you and your campaign indeed.
What's the exact message that this should send across to the two major political parties?
I think the political parties must continue to be engaging, the voters on the kind of policies that they advance, because I think this is the first time we've had, in this country, a lot more discussions on policy issues in our elections than the previous ones. And so that means that the political parties are doing quite a good job. They should continue doing it. But also in terms of the voters, I think that we must start responding to things like that. I mean, things like polling, for example, because they're part of our democratic process. If we're not able to gauge what voters are actually looking out for and report them in that direction, then of course political parties are also finding difficult in connecting their messages or connecting what you think they want to how they develop their policies. So we need voter engagement. What I have realized is that quite a lot of voters do not respond to polls when you send them. And that is very, very bad indeed, because for democracy to grow, we need a very good voting public to be educated, whereas we need a very good political parties, actions on policies, etc. So we have to respond to polls so that we could actually gauge the mood nationally and inform the political parties of their way forward.
Dr. Kobe Mensah will leave it here. I'm grateful for your time. He's a political analyst, senior lecturer with the University of Ghana Business School, and also a researcher in this survey that we've just been talking about. Now, later tonight, our hotline documentary, Politics of Prophecies, will air at 8:30. The piece by Kwesi Parker Wilson shows what various men of God say will be the outcome of the 2020 polls. Here's an extract of the documentary. All right, so make a date. You know what they say, sometimes the prophecy also depends on the camp that the prophet is coming from. It will all be revealed at 8:30 p.m. later today. Now, one person was injured and several properties damaged last night after a clash between supporters of the New Patriotic Party and the National Democratic Congress in the Yagaba Kubori constituency. Those security forces intervened and brought calm to the area. Our checks revealed there's been some reprisals this morning. Let's speak to the police in the area for more details. Crime officer for the Northeast, Superintendent Ruben Duga, joins us via phone. A very good morning to you, sir. Hello, sir. Good morning. If you can hear me, welcome to Joy News.
Good morning.
Great. So we understand the suspects will be arraigned today. But before we even go there, can you tell us what has happened this morning? Because we heard that there were reprisals. Were there attacks this morning, sir?
No, there was no attack this morning.
Okay. So tell us about the suspects that we arraigned today. Are you taking them to court, and how many have been arrested?
Yes, at the moment we have arrested 9 suspects who are being processed to be put before court this morning.
Okay. And what are the specific charges?
We are looking at offenses like attempted murder, being in possession of firearm without license, causing damage, and conspiracy.
Okay. Can you explain how this all started?
Yes. Yesterday, in the evening, let me say between 600 hours and 1700 hours, we had information from our local police in Yagaba that there had been a call from an assemblyman at Tantala village, which is an electoral area under Yagaba Kubari constituency, that there was a clash between NPP and Andy. And so the police proceeded there. When they got there, what they gathered from the chief and other people around was that the NDC party faithfuls were on the ground doing campaign. In fact, the chief indicated that the NDC parliamentary member or candidate earlier had approached him that they were going to hold the campaign activities yesterday. And so they were on it yesterday when somebody believed to be also from NPP kind of misbehaved. So they took him to the chief's palace. And there he apologized before the NDC party chairman and said it was not going to repeat itself. And so they left. Soon after that, they heard gunfire outside. It wasn't clear who was doing the firing, but later what was discovered was that the NDC parliamentary candidate's vehicle was shot at. And it quite escalated into causing damages to party structures on the ground, and somebody was also hurt and was rushed to Kubari Hospital. While the police were trying to calm situation down there was another call from Yagaba that apparently information got to the Yagaba township, and then the NDC party faithful there had organized themselves and also went and attacked the residence of the parliamentary candidate for the NPP. And so in the house, they caused some damages to some 3 pickups on the compound, the gates to the house, some burglar proofs, and some lover blades. It was also extended to a local radio station, which is believed to be owned by this same parliamentary candidate, Most Honorable Mustafa Yusuf. And some damages, such as destruction of air conditioners, were also recorded at that point. There was police reinforcement together with military, and so the situation has been calmed down. At the moment, 9 persons are in custody of the police who are being processed to be put before court.
Okay, sir, we'll leave it here. Thank you so much for the update. We'll be following up on the Cortex appearance, and we would give our viewers what comes up in court later today. And you heard the Superintendent Ruben Duga, his crime officer, Northeast Region, and he's been giving us the background to the clashes between NDC and NPP at Yagaba in the Northeast Region. Now, scores of NDC supporters this morning thronged the Obra Sport to partake in a march they say is for probity and accountability. Organizers say the march is to honor the memory of late former President Jerry John Rawlings. Benjamin Akakpo has been marching with them for a while now. He joins us. Benjamin, I understand that you are in Adabraka now. Explain what's been happening on this march.
So here we find ourselves, on the streets of Adabraka. We're actually currently around the district police headquarters in Adabraka. In fact, the crowd numbering in the thousands upon thousands. And in fact, from the Kwame Nkrumah interchange all the way to Adabraka leading into Accra, it is chock-a-block. It's human beings like sardines, lined up and faithful of the NDC are here gathered. Somewhere behind us, the National Executive, some of the members of the Executive, Sami Jemfi, the National Communications Director, the Deputy, Peter Buamo Tukuno, and others are also headed this way. Joshua Akamba is also with them. But let's interact with some of those here, find out what exactly their thoughts are. Hello, good morning.
Morning.
What's your first saying?
I'm from Alhaji Aziz.
Alhaji Aziz.
Yeah.
Inti anopaya we pie abahano. Adwenchana ne say, den tin wetie si kroma a che o machi.
Me machi say any abre. Omanpeni akufado wa so manu ma. Enti apese ye jo manu free ni sem. No, omanpeni dada mama on be ye ni ye ma.
All right, so that is one of them. Let's move on. Hello, mommy. Good morning.
Good morning.
What's your first saying?
I'm from the area, mama.
Bro, now and then what you see from me, you know, they ain't in a wabaha.
Me in Babie, ni boni nana fiawo, ni egbewo, ni show last year in Babie, ni ma okena, ni ma vote number 2 against Nana, ni ma che Nana, yeseno, ni ma nejole, ibi anejole, ishi anejole, imma anejole, Ghana anejole, no one Babie ngene.
Thank you very much. Hello, good morning.
Hello.
Your name?
Bocho, you're from Jibril Sadiq.
Your first name?
Jibril Sadiq.
Jibril Sadiq. Enti, just what you see from Murina Moka demonstration, and then I wash a demonstration.
Ye Naji, ye daddy, then Yakupas say, or the other party. Ya bomba say, ya man, a sign, the engine free Akufado Sam. Intina, ya PSA. Nyakupa mbwae nenjie mane free say ye bibia say nti ebopa say nyame nji 2 minutes free akufa lo say on fan share drama man say inshallah come next week December inshallah nyame be so ama inshallah.
More people to speak to. Hello, good morning.
My name is Mukhtar.
Yes,
I'm from.
Now you've joined this march. What are you hoping to achieve?
I'm hoping to achieve the mama to come for power, because we are suffering from Nana Akufo-Addo's regime. He and Baumia have came to power for lying. They tell Ghanaians so many lies that when they came, they will not destroy the Galamsey. When they came, down banks they have been closed down. All the banks should be reopened, then so that everything will be going on. The market women are crying. Everybody is crying. Workers are crying. So we want the mama to come back to rescue us for this suffering that we are suffering. Now, when Kufuor came, he brought some buses. Now, when the Jomama also came, he brought some buses. Now, Nana Akufo-Addo came, there's no any bus. People are suffering. So that's why we are marching to do the demonstration against Nana Akufo-Addo for 2020 for him to go out of power. So we want Jomama to come back. We want Ghanaians to give him the mandate to continue for his work of doing. So thank you very much.
And are you sure that should John Dramani Mahama come to power, all of these things you are saying will actually come to happen?
John Mahama have done it. We have seen it. And he's been doing it before 2016, before he was booted out from the power. Look at the interchange of Circle. Look at the interchange of Kasua. Now the interchange of Okwasi, he's been doing it before 2016, he put it out. So now Nana Akufo-Addo is continuing for the interchange. But we want John Mahama to come and finish it, because it has been a long time that they have started the interchange of Okwasi. Up to now, they have not finished it. So John Mahama is coming back to come and continue it. So we thank God, John Mahama, by God's grace, is coming to continue his work doing.
All right, thank you very much for interacting with us. Hello, good morning.
Fine morning, my brother.
Your saying?
Mede Gilbert, Ajenim Boatin.
Yo, Gilbert, and now what you see, Chromono? Why don't you say, they ain't seen a wabaha, or come at you?
Near Mammitis Chrome, and say, and now, a signal, Emma Akufo-Addo, say, we're losing election, because yet means now on my imu, or my Bibia and Koso, but ye can't as a wabubu near Agunasum. But and then, yes, I yet I'm an who say 2020 election, and yet you bet me I have Fracadambia. Nembom, Ompo, John Dramani Mahama, the nation builder, is coming back as a president of Republic of Ghana to rescue this nation from their thieves, from whatever they are doing, all these nonsense things and other things that they are doing. John Mahama is coming back to rescue the nation and also rebuild the nation as well.
Thank you very much for interacting with us. Hello, good morning.
Morning.
Placard now Ukra no. They ain't in Ukra.
Nikitani say because of Oma attempt to Oma Iska. And Akufo-Addo no, ye percentage from America, Ebedu Ghana, changes not from America, Ebedu Ghana. Akufo-Addo, ultimately say, Fred Gesi, I 419. John, and I be Fred Gesi by and you know. Bank is a good Akufo-Addo, and I'm saying, are you ready to over Pakenema? I said, now I know you're changing sign. Say, are you ready to over Pakenema? Count December 7. Whether you like it or not like, your mama is coming back to take the nation back to the promised land.
So a lot of Ghanaians, a lot of those who have hit the streets here expressing their sentiments. Let's connect with this man here who is actually in a coat of the party's colors. Hello, good morning.
Morning, sir.
What's your name?
Owo, Staff Owo.
Staff Owo?
Staff Owo.
Staff Owo?
Sir.
Okay, so why have you decided to join this march?
Akufo-Addo, Abano, or the Alpha Kwembeso. Na me pese ye tell ni say you wan di yi obokoko sakitiri wan ba ni di wan fu no afidu ni eyi na di a mboduma dwane nte se no Akufo-Addo 4 years no ye dwane no o nipa boni on ti be hwe man no so oguman no akomu di yen ye bre ye hu ye ho ano o ti ho ama asantini nana wafra police for and not to one for Nana Casama me. Asam why me de pa or Casam police for Asam why me de. And then you call circle. Your mama, then you see, I see a common. Yaja Kwao, Yadani Yanka, Teenager Kwao, and the Kakam Wakano, but that's it.
So party loyals, party faithful, ordinary Ghanaians hitting the streets. We're around the district police headquarters in Adabraka. I can tell you that all the way from the Kwame Nkrumah interchange leading into central Accra, it is completely blocked with human traffic. And all of them here marching, saying that they are actually supporting the virtues of probity, accountability, transparency, and that they are not seeing it in this current administration, and that is why they have actually hit the streets. Over to you.
Benjamin Akapo marching with the NDC supporters on their probity and accountability march. Started from the Obra Sport. They are now in Adabraka on their way to the central business districts of Accra. Now, presidential candidate of the NDC, John Mahama, is accusing government of vote buying, as he says his sources within the police service have revealed the men and women in uniform have received various amounts in their accounts with just 1 week to the elections. John Mahama made the claim during a rally in the Tamale North constituency and repeated same during a Sunday night rally in Damongo constituency. Maxwell Agbagba has details of all that happened on the NDC campaign trail over the weekend.
This is how party supporters and residents of the Tamale North constituency welcomed the NDC presidential candidates. He had earlier visited the Savelugu and Tolon constituencies. At a night rally in the Tamale North constituency, he accused government of vote buying.
Akufo-Addo has failed. And so all he has now is to try and buy the election. And so they are spending money as if there's no tomorrow. I just learned from a group of police officers that they've paid monies into their accounts. All of them, all police officers. Because they know that they have destroyed the morale of the Ghana Police Service. Because he's infiltrated the police service with all kinds of thugs and hoodlums, invisible forces, Delta forces, who have no sense of discipline. And he thinks that he can buy our police officers with 1,000 Ghana cedis or 2,000 Ghana cedis just because an election is coming. They will take that money and they will vote against him. And so 2,000 or 1,000 or 3,000 will not bite their conscience.
The NDC presidential candidate repeated the same allegation of vote buying in the Damongo constituency later Sunday evening.
Getting to the voting day, this NPP government think they can buy the election. And so they are distributing money everywhere. They are giving teachers money, and they think that after 4 years of suffering, before an election, they can come and give you money and buy your conscience and your mind so that you will vote for them, even when you know that this country is going in the wrong direction under Nana Akufo-Addo. I'm sorry, Ghanaians are not for sale.
In the Tolan constituency, the NDC presidential candidate accused the NPP of unjustifiably taking credit for the new Tolan district hospital. This hospital in contention was actually commissioned about 5 days ago by the Vice President Mahmudu Bawumia. Now, in fact, during the commissioning, he stated that contrary to what he describes as propaganda, he says that contrary to what people have put out there, that the NPP has not constructed any hospital since they assumed office. They have. And indeed, he stated that the Tolan District Hospital is one of the evidence that he can put forward that, yes, indeed, they've constructed hospitals. In fact, in his speech, he stated that truth crawls, but it would always triumph over falsehood.
As Haruna said, they have no knowledge of this hospital. I announced this hospital for the first time in Bupe in 2015, after we had secured the funding. And there were 4 of those hospitals. We sent one to Bupe. And so we didn't choose the hospitals for nothing. We put one here in Tolong, and we put one in my constituency in Bamboy. And so they have no knowledge of this hospital. The Tolong Hospital is one of the legacies of the NDC administration.
Scores of people gathered here to wish the NDC presidential candidate John Mahama happy birthday. As he arrived here at the Tamale Teaching Hospital, scores of NDC supporters and other people who were here at the facility started singing happy birthday.
May God bless you now. May God bless you now. May God bless you now. May God bless you now.
May God bless you now. May God bless you now. May God bless you now. May God bless you now. Hip, hip, hip. Hooray! Hip, hip. Hooray! Hip, hip. Hooray!
Maxwell Agbagba giving us a wrap of activities in the camp of the NDC over the weekend. The NDC presidential candidate is now in the Savannah region. Trust that Maxwell Agbagba will bring us a lot more from the campaign trail. Now, let's cross over and go to the camp of the NPP, where President Akufo-Addo is promising prosperity, progress, and massive development in his second term as president. He believes a solid foundation has been laid for a smooth takeoff. He was addressing in separate rallies at Mpoho, Agonankwanta, and Takwa on his Western Region tour.
I don't want to be Argentina went to be Oba Obian is one my way to maybe I know to the Ghana for a year French ya side to a bit child and then your Kenya a baby and you only be beer or by the catcher Ghana for my thing. Obasa Nansei in front and ordinary. Mutio. Yamawa was a better Samama say, free senior high school on another buy. On that gun as a walkers on another buy. Hey, it's your pay on Sonyami. Oh, Sonyami. Free senior high. Who's that Ghana? Dangerous policy. Now everything should be done to stop Akufo-Addo from bringing senior high school. Yeah, they never because on how they buy. Money ma the good the campaign no. On one who said campaign no attention. Campaign, Muhammad's campaign has collapsed.
And the NPP's presidential candidate is in the Ashanti region today. He spends the next 3 days. We're told he'll be visiting making some 19 stops. Elton Brobe is my colleague with the president. He'll be bringing us more on his campaign. We've got to take a breather. We'll come back with business coming up. Clients of Black Shield, formerly Gold Coast Fund Management, kick against decision to repay their locked-up investment in shares rather than cash. Daryl Kong has more coming up shortly.
Hi, good morning. Welcome to Business. My name is Daryl Kwao. Clients of Gold Coast Fund Management, now Black Shield, are kicking against a decision to repay their locked-up investment in shares rather than cash. The coalition of aggrieved customers is demanding full disclosure of share subscription and the agreement option from the Securities and Exchange Commission. Nanaya Ojima filed this report from Kumasi.
The commission indicated an authorized partial bailout of 50,000 cedis to all customers pending the outcome of a court action. But the coalition of aggrieved customers of Gold Coast Fund Management has concerns. The group says an online process for payment of funds compelled depositors to sign a share subscription and assignment agreement with the Amalgamated Mutual Fund PLC. Leader of the group, Charles Nyami, explains the terms and conditions to the agreement.
In effect, the SEC is seeking to convert our cash claim into shares in Amalgamated Mutual Fund. Yet, the SEC has been entirely silent on these requirements of the processes and have failed to educate affected customers of the meaning and implications of this agreement with the Amalgamated Mutual Fund. Unfortunately, the SEC have failed to respond to all attempts by the leadership of this coalition to engage them on this and other equally important matters relating to the announced government bailout program.
The customers are demanding the government adopt the same method used in payment of affected customers in the banking and savings and loans sectors.
We wish to urge government and the SEC to expedite work on the payment process to ensure that customers are paid by December 3rd, 2020. It is also worrying to note that as at the time of issuing this press release, over 50% of customers are yet to receive the initial text message to allow them commence the payment process. Operation 1 is to Operation 1 is to
The mantra here is 1:5, meaning each of the affected customers and their family members, at least 4 other family members, will vote against the president if he should refuse to pay them before the 7th of December. From Kumasi for JoyNews, Nanaya Ojima reporting.
In other news, the incoming president of the Chartered Insurance Institute of Ghana, Teria Ben Ahmed, says insurance coverage, which presently stands at 1%, is very low and demands an immediate action plan to grow it. Now, according to him, the National Insurance Commission, in collaboration with industry stakeholders, are working together to increase the insurance enrollment. He spoke to Joy Business at the Chartered Insurance Institute of Ghana Awards.
The insurance penetration in Ghana as of today, if you look at it from the NIC annual report of 2019, is approximately 1%, and 1% is not what we want to have. But it's important to just give you some other aspect of this conversation as well. It will interest you to know that based on the same annual report of the NIC in the year 2019, non-life insurance companies or general insurance companies pay on a daily basis 1.4 million Ghana cedis in claims on a daily basis. And guess what? Life insurance companies pay on a daily basis 2.2 million Ghana cedis a day in claims. In as much as penetration is 1% and we want to see penetration grow, it is important for us to acknowledge the good work insurance is doing to the development of Ghana. I can confirm to you that the National Insurance Commission, in collaboration with industry stakeholders, are working strongly together to promote insurance penetration in Ghana. And the NIC, which is the insurance regulator, has set out to grow the insurance market from a current market value of 3.5 billion to a market size of 10 billion by 2024.
Meanwhile, yours truly, the Multimedia Group Limited, won the CIIG Insurance Media House of the Year award. Head of Joy Business Udile Ntiama, who received the award on behalf of the organization, said the Multimedia Group has been very consistent in the area of insurance as it continues to play an important role in ensuring the public is educated on insurance-related issues.
I think that we've been very consistent when it comes to the area of insurance. Several media houses don't have insurance correspondents. We've also dedicated a couple of times on our airwaves opportunities for the insurance industry to really come and educate the public when it comes to insurance-related issues. We've been very consistent on the recapitalization of the insurance industry, and we look forward to the final things being done when it comes to that. Insurance penetration has also been very small, and so through several forms of education that we have done, our expectation is that this should go down well with people and people should consume insurance. So I think in a nutshell, we've done some good education when it comes to insurance, and this has been spearheaded by Bismarck Ewusa from the Joy Business team, and of course others who have also interviewed various industry players on various programs, especially in the area of business programming.
All right, and that's it for Business, and News continues after this break.